Hello, Oracles. Today we're going to discuss my price targets, my base case price targets through 2033 for Tesla stock. I will also share how many shares you are going to need in order to become a Teslanaire along the way. I know many of you are already Teslanaires out there. That's absolutely awesome. Now, none of this is going to be financial advice. This is just based upon my valuation models, what I have for price targets. Things can change a lot over time. We know in the near term, there could be a lot of swings. In the long term, a lot of different things can happen. So none of this is guaranteed. None of this is set in stone. I update these regularly. Any members and patrons will get any updates immediately. And then I will share a video like this with you guys at the end of every quarter. So today we're going to go into all of those and my reasoning behind all of these price targets in just a minute. All right, so before we dive into all of these price targets, I just want to preface this all with my valuation model starts with production. I really focus on production first because everything really comes from there. Because as far as we have seen so far, Tesla sells and delivers every single vehicle that they produce. So it's going to be a matter of how many are they producing. We do know that this year alone, they've seen some challenges when it comes to demand globally for the entire automotive industry. So they are having some challenges. They've changed pricing quite a bit over the course of the year just to make sure that, deliveries are going to be going out, but that is going to change as time goes on and we come out of this difficult macro environment. So with all of that said, my production, and I do share that with all of my members and patrons, all of my production forecasts. Last quarter, I missed production by 1,230 vehicles. I'm pretty darn accurate when it comes to production. My deliveries are going to be a percentage of the production that I think is going to get delivered. What I do now, and I just started changing this, is I look at the last few quarters and I take a look at the percentage that they're differing between how much they've produced and how much they've delivered. I use that number to determine what I think deliveries are going to be based upon my production numbers. So if my production numbers are continuing to be as accurate as they are and deliveries stay within that percentage, should be pretty close. We will see what happens next quarter and we'll take it from there. But that's how I all started. And then I take a look at all of the other numbers when it comes to margins and things like that based upon price. A lot goes into my valuation model. I'm not going to share that entire piece here today, but I wanted to let you guys know this is how I contrive all of my price targets. Now, when it comes to the price targets as well, a big factor of that is the PE ratio. So looking at, you're going to see the next couple of years are a little bit lower just because I think the PE is going to be compressed due to the macro environment, very much like we saw last year. Then once we get past that, the PE can grow a little bit. It's not going to grow significantly unless Tesla does solve FSD, unless they have Optimus coming out, energy really takes off. I think all of these things are absolutely possible, but I like to keep this as a base case scenario where I balance my bear case and my bull case, and I put them both together as my base case. So I really take the numbers that we truly have right now for information, utilize those, and that's how I come up with my price targets. All right, so to kick it off, this year and near term is always the hardest. Things can change. There's a lot of manipulation in the market, a lot of things that are going to be macro driven. My price target previously for this year was $247. I have increased that to $275. That is a little bit of an upside from here. I do think we have a chance to go up. But again, there's so much uncertainty in the macro environment. It could range widely. It really depends. I do still think we're going to get a massive pullback market wide. Really just depends on the timing of that to determine what the price target's going to be for the end of this year. Now, with that said, with a $275 price target, you would need 3,637 shares to be a Teslanaire. Now, for 2024, we've got the election year going on. I think whatever is going to be happening in the macro environment will have bottomed out and we will start climbing up from there. I do not think it's going to be a V-shaped bounce, but with Tesla at that point having the Cybertruck up and running, you're going to have production ramping on that. So the excitement for that production ramp is truly going to be there. Mexico is going to be nearly built, if not completely built, and starting production by the end of 2024 as well. We just got word that they have the permits filed and everything is good to go. So they should be breaking ground soon over there. So we may see production starting by the end of 2024 on Mexico. And then by then, we will probably end up seeing FSD being solved, just waiting for regulatory approval on a nationwide basis. But we do have it on a state-by-state basis. There's going to be a lot of excitement starting to come into Tesla based upon all of this. not to mention AI and energy taking off as well. So my price target for the end of 2024 is $402, and you would need 2,488 shares to be a Teslanaire. Now, 2025 is the year I continue to talk about. I think this is the huge year that's going to change a lot for Tesla. We've already seen some awesome jumps going on, but I think this is going to be another major parabolic jump when it comes to Tesla stock. We are going to have Cybertruck ramping almost in full effect. We're going to have Mexico up and running. We'll hear about at least one more gigafactory by then as well. Energy is going to be taking off. AI and Dojo are going to be up and running. We're going to have FSD solved, most likely regulated at this point. We are going to see some massive pushes for Tesla here. And looking at the fact that we have the supercharger network already being adopted in North America by nearly everyone, and most likely it will be everyone at that point, we might end up seeing FSD licensing talks starting to happen as well. So my price target for the end of 2025 is $628, and you would need 1,593 shares for Teslanaire. 2026, I think we're going to start seeing things like we saw back in 2020, where Tesla just kept on outperforming all of Wall Street's expectations. They're going to be doing things that people are like, I can't believe they're doing this. Nobody's ever done it before. Well, yeah, no kidding. This is what disruptive companies do. They do what nobody has ever done before. They're going to see more and more of this on a mass scale that they never thought possible. So we're going to have that compact car coming out of Mexico really taking off. The costs are going to be super low on these vehicles. They're going to be producing vehicles at costs that nobody thought were even possible. We're going to have FSD in many of these vehicles that are going out there. We're going to have robotaxi fleets starting to hit the road, and licensing is really going to start taking off because people are going to realize that if they do not have fully autonomous vehicles, they are not going to make it in this world. So by the end of 2026, I see a price target of $849, and you would need 1,178 shares for Teslanaire. 2027, I see more of the same. At this point, Cybertruck is really up and ramped fully. I think we're going to have the Cyber van out by then as well. We are going to have multiple factories producing this compact car that is going to be coming out. It is going to be the best-selling car in the world, probably by 2027 or 2028, in my opinion, just like we are seeing the Model Y taking that this year. So I think by then we will see that. One of those 2 years, maybe very similar to Model Y last year in 2022, was clear sign that 2023 was going to be it. Might be 2027 is the year that we see the clear sign it's going to happen, and 2028 we actually see it. So all of that's going to be happening. Again, FSD continues to build. Energy at this point is really taking off. I do not have it passing EVs by the end of the decade, but it could be close. And then we'll also be a lot closer to Optimus. We may be seeing some Optimus robots going into factories, helping reduce costs even more when it comes to production. At that point, we're going to hear talks coming from other manufacturers wanting to do the same thing so that they can reduce costs. That is going to start putting a little bug in people's ears thinking, ooh, Optimus is really going to be taking off as far as a revenue generator for Tesla as well. So in 2027, I see a price target of $1,090. You would need 918 shares for Teslanaire. In 2028, I see a massive 50% jump in the stock price. Now, again, I do think we are going to see some splits along the way. I think we'll see a split, and probably based upon my price targets, somewhere around 2026, maybe 2027. I don't think the stock price is actually ever going to hit $1,000 again. I think Tesla will end up splitting the stock before we end up getting to $1,000 because of all the reasons they said before. They want to make sure it's affordable for the employee stock purchase plan. So I think they're going to end up doing that, especially with Mexico online, and who knows how many other factories by that time that we're going to see. So I think employees by that point, we're over 110,000 right now. I think we might be pushing over 200,000 by that point. So with all that growth coming, I think we are going to be needing a stock split. But I'm just going to keep it based upon today's prices. So in 2028, the massive jump I think is going to come from Optimus. And I don't think it's going to be out and about for revenue significantly, but I think FSD revenue is going to be driving it. And then the excitement behind what Optimus could potentially bring to the table is really going to entice a lot of people to come in and invest. Now, at this point, I think they've already done several buybacks as well. So I think we're going to have a lot more institutional holders coming in to push the stock price up as well. So a lot of that is going to be pushing this forward. And I think the entire macro environment at this point will be in full bull market swing. So I think we're going to see some massive growth coming by the end of this decade. So my price target for 2028 is $1,528, and you would need 655 shares. And now 2029 is a lot more of that same growth story where we just keep pushing up. I think in 2029, we're going to see again Optimus really reducing costs in factories, probably maybe even for sale to other factories. Not sure at that point. However, we're going to have FSD running in Optimus as well as a humanoid robot. So we're going to see a lot more potential for this. And then we're also going to obviously have FSD on the road. And I think Tesla at this point is also going to have some sort of software that's going to be running in their fully autonomous vehicles, sort of like an app store that we see for Apple. And we're already hearing about that right now for Tesla. And I think that's really going to change the game for them as well. So they're going to be able to have third-party apps coming out, and they're going to be able to generate significant revenue from an app store within their fully autonomous vehicles. Because think about it, you're going to be not needing to drive. People are going to be bored. They've got kids. They're going to want to have them to do something in their vehicles. So they're going to have an app store in there. So I think we're going to see some massive pushes with other revenue streams coming for Tesla at this point. Energy obviously also is going to be taking off significantly. Again, there is a potential that energy could outtake EV revenue by the end of this decade, depending on how quickly it grows. But I do not have that factored in. So this price target could be low based upon that alone. So the end of 2029, I have a price target of $2,041, and you would need 490 shares. Now, in 2030, that is going to be the end of the decade, beginning of next decade. This is when Tesla says they are going to be achieving, or their goal is to achieve, 20 million vehicles delivered per year. I do not think they are going to achieve that. I think they are going to fall slightly short of it. However, with all of the compact cars that are coming out, I think it is actually possible. But I do not have that factored into my valuation model. So if they do end up achieving 20 million vehicles delivered, this will be a low price target. Now, I don't think that we're going to grow significantly in 2030 because I don't think we're going to see any massive changes. A lot of the excitement we see has gone on already. And at this point here at the turn of the decade, we could be having people looking back saying, oh, it's been 100 years since we've had the Great Depression. Are we going to face the same type of stock market crash? So we may have some macro environment uncertainty that's going to hold the stock up a little bit. But I still think we're going to see about a 10% growth in the stock price that year. So 2030, I see $2,277, and you'd need 440 shares. Now in 2031, I think we end up seeing a larger impact coming out from Optimus. I think this is going to be something where, yes, we've been talking about it. Yes, people have seen what could potentially happen. But now I think in 2031, we are going to actually start seeing it all happen. And the entire world is about to be taken over by something that they never thought was even possible. And this is Optimus getting into these factories and then being talked about for going into homes. I don't think at this point, and I could be way wrong on this, but I don't think we are going to see Optimus in homes until probably the mid 2030s, maybe late 2030s. But I do think that we will see them in factories helping out in many areas. And I think 2031, we are going to really start seeing that happening. Then, of course, we also have just regular revenue growth coming out of Tesla. Maybe they announce dividends at this point. I don't know. I think dividends might end up waiting until we get to the point where Optimus is truly up and running and they've got enough factories producing as many as they feel they need. And then at that point, we might see dividends. Truly don't know. Maybe we see it before then. But in 2031, I have a price target of $2,766, and you would need 362 shares. 2032, I think it's just going to be steady growth from here. We're going to be kind of just doing our thing. It's just going to be steady growth, and that's really going to be it. We're going to see steady growth in vehicles. I think we're going to be hitting near the top of the S curve when it comes to the actual vehicle production, but I think we are still going to continue growing. I think energy is going to be just in the middle of their S curve at this point. Optimus barely even starting. FSD is now going to be standard in nearly every vehicle if you want to purchase it. So it's going to be extra. And then we're going to have many, many other fleets that are going to be out there for robo-taxis. The amount of revenue sources that Tesla's going to have at this point are going to be incredible. And so at this point, I think it's just going to be steady. Let's just watch this thing grow, and that's going to be it. So in 2032, I see a price target of $3,078, and you would need 325 shares. And now finally 2033, and again, this is 10 years out. Anything can happen between now and then. There are so many uncertainties that can happen. So in 2033, I think at this point, Optimus is really starting to be seen as something that can be going into homes. People might actually be putting down payments on them. They might have that up just like the Cybertruck. But again, I think there's going to be significant challenges, very much like we see with FSD. So while, yes, they may be able to work in factories, how is it going to actually function at an in-home basis? That could be a bit of a challenge there as well. So again, the technology is there. We've got Dojo up and running to help facilitate the growth on all of this, but there might be some delays in it. Don't know, but there's still going to be that excitement in 2033. I think it's going to be a completely different world at that point. And then if you look at the macro environment, when you look at the fact that nearly every 8 to 10 years, we had a bit of a delay this time around, but usually around that time, we see a bit of a massive market pullback. For some reasons, it always happens. It was the dot-com bubble, then we had the housing market crash, then we had COVID and all these rates going up. So right around this time, we could be anticipating another massive market pullback, just on a macro environment level. So again, this would not be Tesla related. I still see Tesla growing, but again, very, very uncertain when it comes to the future. So based upon what I see right now, if we don't get that pullback in 2033, I think the price target is going to be $3,313 and you would need 302 shares. So again, overall, I think we are going to see massive growth. And again, I've had people tell me that I'm too bearish, and I've had other people tell me that I'm too bullish. This tells me that I am really in the middle of what a lot of people see. So my base case scenario, in my opinion, is pretty much right in the middle from what a lot of people are seeing. And we have Kathy Wood and Ark think that it could be significantly higher than that. I know guys like Warren Redlick think that it's going to be significantly higher than that. But then I have others who think it could be a lot lower than that. Again, I feel like I'm right in the middle and I'm prepared either way. And based upon my price targets, I would be extremely happy with this kind of growth over the next 10 years. I mean, thinking about the fact that based upon my price targets, it's about a 12x growth in the next 10 years. That's incredible growth. And then on top of it, you would have buybacks that could enhance that even more, and maybe even dividends at the end of that 10 years. So accumulating as many shares as possible would be awesome to be able to take advantage of those dividends. I've already made that video about TSLY and how I'm making dividends on that. Totally separate video if you guys want to check that out. But looking at the fact that that could potentially happen in the next 10 years is incredible. So I'm very excited about all of this. And again, I didn't share all of my EPSs and all of that over the next decade. That is for all of my members and patrons. I share my entire valuation model with them. If you want to check it out, you can become a member and patron. Those links are down in the description below. Otherwise, let me know in the comments below when you guys would be a Teslanaire, or if you are already a Teslanaire. Would love to hear it. Would love to hear your excitement. Let me know your feedback on what you think about the price targets as well, and what else you guys see. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Have a great one.